Yep. How many more minutes have we got? Bloody what's happened to this leaderboard? Sorry. Anyway, it should be the minute marker and the fact it's Q1. Well, they're not willing to show us what qualifying session it is, even though it's Q1. But Norris looks like, and his teammate Piastri will make it to Q2. Let's see any updates. 4 minutes to go. Albon's up to 5th. Sainz is struggling yet again. I noticed that you would probably have guessed the weather is absolutely roasting in Europe. All over Europe, that is. Let's see, the bottom 5. Sainz has now gone into the drop zone. Hulkenberg, the 2 Aston Martins are in trouble. Behrman yet again struggling. Oh my word, I have to say Behrman's qualifying performances are looking... Oh, he's up to 8. Spoke too soon. So it's called Pinto's now in the drop zone with teammate Gasly in 11th. Like, how many more minutes have we got to go? I mean, we've got 3 minutes, I'm guessing, but I don't even have a timer to tell me what's going on, like in terms of how many minutes are left in the session. No, Norris is probably going to go P1 in Q1 and Q2, but I can guarantee you when we get to Q3, he's going to bottle it again. If he gets pole position, I'll be impressed. But frankly, I don't really have that much faith in him. I have no idea what's going to happen next. Lap by lap, everyone. No one feels safe. Oh, track evolution is OP at this circuit. Thank you for the like here at Crystal Racing. All the support is appreciated. Lawson, Hadjar, 3rd and 5th. Gasly's 4th. I mean, Russell's in the drop zone now with Tsunoda having fallen into it and Ocon. I mean, those 3 need to get a lap done. I think we've seen an improved wave. Verstappen up to 6th. McLaren's, I think, are posed, and I think the RBs and Gasly could get away with what they've set with only about 60 seconds remaining. Hulkenberg, my God, Hulkenberg is having a poor weekend. Hamilton is outpacing Leclerc, which is remarkable considering this is arguably Hamilton's weakest track on the whole calendar. Final minute, Alonso goes up to 8. Hulkenberg is not on a lap. Hulkenberg's going out qualifying in Q1. Alonso's now dropped to 13th with loads more drivers doing a lap time. Sainz and Tsunoda and Ocon are still in trouble. Stroll's fallen into the drop zone. Pinto's on the bubble. Behrman, I don't know if he's got time. Obviously, we're looking at the bottom 5 because that is... Obviously, 15 drivers will head into Q2. Hello to 10 people watching. I hope you're doing well on this wonderful sunny afternoon. This is an audio commentary / radio commentary. No live footage, I'm afraid, because of copyright reasons, but I can show you the lap times, which is what matters most, just as much as the cars going around on the track. It looks like, unless Stroll, Ocon, Tsunoda, Sainz can do something, that will be your bottom 5 from 16 downwards. Stroll, Ocon, Tsunoda, Sainz, and Hulkenberg will be heading out of qualifying and will be starting in the bottom 5 positions, unless there are grid penalties applied for drivers in front of them. So I hope you're all doing extremely sunny afternoon here in most of Britain and Europe, but I don't know, I think that's it. To be honest, it doesn't look like it anything else is happening. Surely must be checkered flag for the session done. So that must be, from what I can remember, Stroll, Tsunoda, Sainz, Ocon and Hulkenberg out in Q1. Yes, that is it. Oh, Ocon 17th, Sainz down in 19th. Oh, and Yuki Tsunoda only in 18th in the Red Bull, of course. Yeah, Verstappen is third in the driver standings, but his team, Red Bull, are down in 4th place. Partly thanks to their second driver problem, where I think only Lawson and Tsunoda have scored a combined total of 7 points in the second Red Bull this season, which is... That's... Wow, the Red Bull number 2...
I didn't have any front grip, bro.
Oh, dear. Speaking of front grip, I mean... I think that means that every team does have at least one car in since, of course. I don't know, when was the last time a Grand Prix had a bunch, and like all 10 teams qualify within at least but Q2 minimum? I don't remember the last time I've seen that. It's probably like 5 years ago when, I think, what was it, 2020 or 21, when you actually, I don't know, designed a much better car and had Latifi and Russell reaching Q2 minimum. That was probably the last time we saw anything like that. Ocon pitted because I think he screwed up his last lap. Russell, despite a mistake, improved to P11. Stroll went outside. No. So, yeah. We will be starting Q2 in a few minutes without those bottom 5 drivers, Tsunoda and Sainz. Dear God, yeah, you've taken the words out of my mouth. Yes, I know the rule is a hard car to drive for the number 2 drivers, but I'm so lucky, mate. You've got to do better. Like, not even the likes of Perez, Gasly, or Albon struggled this much, and I think I'm beginning to wonder whether the team have had thoughts about whether they should have dropped Liam Lawson in the first place, because, I mean, let's be real here, folks. Tsunoda is a good midfield driver, but he is definitely not a top team driver at all. Like, the guy took like 3 years just to get up to speed and be able to, like, thank you, motorcycle, for that wonderful sound in the background, but yeah, 3 years to be able to outpace the likes of Vries and Dan Ricciardo when he had them as team. So it was never like Tsunoda was a great prospect to begin with, and heavily outpaced by let's see, Gasly in his opening 2 seasons in F1. Hamilton, what a statistic that is. Yeah, I mean, I know there's going to be some Hamilton fans who will say, oh, he won the sprint race in Shanghai, but yeah, I mean, Lawson's been pretty poor as well, but I have to say Tsunoda has been even more disappointing, to be honest, considering his greater experience in Formula 1. Like, this is just absolutely, like, this is borderline Latifi / Mazepin levels of performance from Tsunoda. This is horrible. The guy has been absolutely horrible. The timing screen readjusting itself. That Albon got into the top 10 once again. And I did expect a lot more than Carlos Sainz, having been in the sport for a decade. I mean, the thing is with Lawson is that Lawson's only had like 2 bit part seasons. He's not been a full-time driver until this season, so technically his first ever full-time CNF was the Red Bull team, which is quite a jump leap from, I don't know, the likes of Christian Horner and Marco to put him in that seat so soon in his career. But having said that, I think you have to realise that their lack of faith in Tsunoda by giving Lawson the seat first ahead of Yuki is fully justified now, because I mean Red Bull are gonna have to bite the bullet and probably go and try and find a more experienced driver to take over that second seat, whether that means getting Lando Norris or maybe George Russell to come. Obviously this depends on how it fits in with hello there Kiefer, how it fits he stands at Red Bull, because of course that Max could be George next year, because George Russell did confirm on Thursday that the team are into Max Verstappen. Obviously this could be Max's way of baiting Red Bull to give him a bigger salary and better terms and conditions of his contract. Hello there Leo, Heggy, Norris to crash again. Yeah, well, after last week, after the performance he produced weeks ago, I frankly, unfortunately, I have more faith in him making another major error or somehow failing to make Q3 than I have any expectation of him getting pole position. Or myself, I don't want to. I have to, because it's decides to shove him in the road. He just comes out, just complains about Max being good sporting. It's like, you're up against Max Verstappen. He's stubborn. He will not bend. Who will take Max's seat? I don't know. I mean, I'm presuming George Russell and maybe Isaac Hadjar end up becoming teammates at Red Bull next season. Max goes to Mercedes and ends up with Kimi Antonelli as his teammate, which, I mean, what happened there? Sorry about that. It will be a great test of Kimi's personality and characters of the drama series, because it's very harrowing and hard to watch. But if you're one of those people who's a bit faint-hearted, then I don't think you should watch it. Leclerc, well, obviously we saw McLaren do 1-minute 04s in practice, so obviously we shouldn't read too much into the Ferrari's lap times there, because that's well over a second slower than McLaren's practice laps. And I'm pretty sure pole position will probably potentially could dip under 1-minute 3 today if Piastri and Norris can. Stroll, Ocon, Tsunoda, Sainz, not sure what to say. He's been very impressive lately, but not today, I'm afraid. I expected more from Hulkenberg, but obviously he's stronger Sauber, and Sauber can be... Obviously, Sauber haven't produced a particularly great car for about 6 years now. Funnily enough, that was the last time Kimi was driving for them. Although it has to be said, Kimi had very little influence on the 2019 Alfa Romeo since he was driving Ferrari for the past 5 seasons beforehand. I don't know how many minutes have elapsed in Q2, but Lawson goes quickest. My word, I'll be a little quick. And I fancy, I guess, that Yuki Tsunoda wishes he got promoted. I have to say this, I think Yuki Tsunoda is gonna end up going down as a massive sacrificial lamb for Red Bull now, because they know he's probably reached the peak of his potential. Next thing, I can survive the trauma, but next week release Squid Game at the worst time. Oh, is it a new episode? Okay. Fair enough. I mean, with all the Israel versus Iran news, it's not exactly the most amazing time to watch something like Squid. Thank you for 2 likes here at Crystal Racing. All the support is much if Verstappen goes quickest, but we all know McLaren have got pace in hand, so that doesn't mean much. I mean, to be honest, we're only about just over 5 minutes into the session, so these lap times are not that much of a... Unless we get a red flag, don't read too much into these lap times. As it stands, there is no rain forecast for the rest of qualifying today. Piastri, as like I said, into the 1 minute fours, half a second quicker than Max, and that is an absolute... And McLaren are not messing around. And I will stand by my statement that Oscar, lack of impressive 5 race wins. Norris goes quicker, but of course, we can't really read too much into that because we all know it's about his psychological state rather than his driving talent that we question here. Oh, I don't know why they do that. I hate that. I hate it. Do you know what I hate the most? Like, when TV companies go and, like, I don't know, release loads of material at one time, like 2 seasons come within, like, 6 months of each other, and then series 4 or 5 has to wait at least 2 or 3 years later, which I don't know whether that's, like, effective marketing or not, but proves that it's not very well organized. Like, I like it more when you have like these 12 or 13 drama series rather than like 2 or 3 years in between, and then the next thing you know, there's like only 3 or 6 months between the next series, which is the next season, I beg your pardon. But McLaren are not messing around here. I think at Canada, that was probably like Canada was probably like the first time when my second or third fastest car in the grid this season. I mean, yeah, I know Max won at Japan and Imola, but that was probably more Max than the car itself at Red Bull doing the job. But having said that, I do think it is becoming a lot more obvious, and it is becoming an increasingly the worst kept secret that Max Verstappen no longer wants to remain at Red Bull, because he has no idea how the new Ford power unit is going to perform next season, since Ford have not designed any sort of factory engine in the sport since 2004, when of course they were running, what was it, Jaguar's F1 team, and of course they were supplying engines to Jordan. Hello there, John Cartier. The drivers on oh yeah, the black no, what was it? Track limits, yeah. Lots of lap times getting deleted as expected. This track is notorious for lap times being deleted with track limits, so if you see a driver going up the order and then coming straight back down again, you can happily presume that they have their lap time deleted. And I'm not going to go through all the list of drivers who get their lap time deleted because I can't be asked anymore. But one thing for certain, Stroll, Ocon, Tsunoda, Sainz and Hulkenberg went out in Q1, and they will start in a bottom 5 unless drivers in front of them get grid penalties. And I think for the first time in about 5 seasons, all 10 teams have got at least one car into Q2. Since I think the last time that happened, it was probably like the 2020 Hungarian Grand Prix, when of course Russell and Latifi qualified. What was their updated 2019 chassis into Q2? Since of course we were in the pandemic era of the sport. And Russell got into Q3 for good measure in an absolute basket case of a Williams. what an amazing, and back then he was getting labelled as Mr. Saturday Boy, the one and only Crofty. To this watermelon. Near the forest. I know what's in this temperature, obviously forest fires can be a thing. Oh yeah, that was last week. No, that was the previous race weekend at Canada where I think they had a red flag rule. Was it fire on the was that IndyCar? I keep forgetting, my memory's muddled up. I swear it wasn't that long ago that there was like an issue with firing a track on the grass, but yeah. Oh yeah. Once again, more fires on the grass. I don't know why the grass is so prone to be set on fire in modern F1. I don't know whether it's because, I don't know, the cars now operate at high temperature due to the hybrid units, more cooling and all that.
So before, car's completely undrivable. I have no grip. It's even what I said before.
Okay, understood.
I don't even know what to say. Like, I have no grip, low speed, medium speed, high speed.
Thank you for that, John. Oh yeah, thanks for that statistic, Will. I forgot about that. But yeah, I have to say, I don't know, it's not very common in modern F1 to see like all 10 teams get at least one car into Q2. I know that didn't happen in, what was it, 2021, because of course Haas were running, well, what was mostly a modified 2020 chassis with no upgrades on it, and they were spending all their money on the 2022 car. As it stands with this temporary red flag. Oh, right, it happened at France 2021. Thank you for that. Yeah, it only happened once, though, which I know was probably, was it Mick Schumacher getting into Q2 then, I presume. I know Mick had a few decent quality performances in 2021, but that was it. Even then, he still had a couple of bluffs, like, what was it, Monaco, Britain, and Brazil, where Mazepin outpaced him, surprisingly. It has to be said, though, in 2022, he was the faster driver in the second half of the season against Kevin Magnussen, but the car was no longer quick enough to score points by that stage of the season, so Mick Schumacher paid the price and was booted out of the F1 by Gunther Steiner. And if you're wondering, this is now the current bottom 5 Albon. Obviously, Williams are not bringing any more upgrades for the rest of the season, according to panic rumours, as they focus on 2026. Behrman 12th, Alonso 13th. Alfa Romeo, oh yeah, Alfa Romeo had some absolutely dreadful point performances towards the end of 2022, I've got to say. 21, I mean. And of course, 2020, they were the slowest car to start the season. Alonso 13th, Bottas 14th. I think obviously Behrman, Alonso, Bottas, Colapinto, no surprise. Albon, oh mate, Williams are looking horrible around this track, if I'm going to be honest. With Gasly in 10th. I think the fight is going to be between Gasly and Albon for that last place in Q3, to be honest. I think that's what we're looking for more than anything else. I presume the red flag is now gone, so... introduced, and even like the early part of the 2000s, a bit like the old Minardi team. But of course, in 2009, Alpine won their first IndyCar race at Watkins Glen with Justin Wilson, and they've won about 4 races since. And a lot of their like team history sounds very similar to the current RB team, which of course used to be Minardi, then renamed to Toro Rosso, then AlphaTauri, where of course under AlphaTauri they also won a race with Pierre Gasly at Monza again. Same track they won their first race in 2008 with Vettel at the wheel. So of course it has to be said, Vettel and Gasly have had 2 very differing fortunes as F1 drivers. I think the battle for that last place in Q3 is now going to be Gasly and Albon, to be honest. I don't really see Bearman on. Oh my god, my phone is annoying me today, sorry. Sorry about that. Gasly remains Q3. I don't know. Is the internet working or not? Q2 gets back underway. Carlos Sainz. I think we had damage to the floor, which made the car hard to drive. They're putting us out problems now, aren't they? Albon, Bearman, Alonso, Bottas are currently sitting between 11th and 15th, which means that they provisionally can Q3 as we speak. Whilst all B boys of Lawson and Hadjar and Pierre Gasly's Alpine are currently in the top 10. Green flag, green flag, 4 minutes remaining, so everyone needs to get a move on in qualifying. Albon thinks he's got damage as well. Oh dear. Williams, I have to say this, I think their car has just got too much of a low ride height, because obviously it's a car that's trimmed out for less drag. And to some extent, they do like to make the suspensions a lot harder than everyone else's. So, unfortunately, I do believe they are more susceptible to floor damage than all the other cars on the grid. I think this also reared its ugly head in Canada, where Albon and Sainz had all sorts of issues throughout qualifying and the race. And of course, why Albon went off early, because of course, as good as Albon has been recently, I do think Albon can struggle with a car that's a bit too stiff to drive. Bearman. Did anyone have Ollie Bearman out qualifying Ocon? Of course, Ocon's done a great job in qualifying this season, but of course, no, I was very surprised to see Bearman leapfrog Ocon, and I have to say, Ocon will be very bitterly disappointed with his qualifying efforts today. And you're absolutely spot on. You have been saying exactly the same thing as I've been saying about Esteban Ocon. The guy is not consistent enough at this level, and it's like, even though, yes, he can have his moments where he can absolutely produce a wonder drive, like finishing second at last year's Brazilian Grand Prix, winning the Hungarian Grand Prix back in 2021. He also, unfortunately, has way too many moments like these sort of weekends where, I don't know, for some reason, if he's not happy with the car, he just goes missing. And this is why, Esteban Ocon ended up at Haas, to be honest, instead of getting a top seat at someone like Mercedes or even Red Bull, because, yeah, obviously Ollie Bearman's inconsistent, but that's because he's a rookie, so what else can you expect from someone like Ocon, Bearman? Gasly's up to 6th. Yeah, this is a really strange one, isn't it? Because this is one of Haas's strongest tracks, but both drivers just don't seem to be getting a handle to this Spielberg track at the Red Bull Ring. I don't know, I hate the fact they call it the Red Bull Ring. It's like, because growing up, it used to be called the A1 Ring, and of course, with the circuit looking like a triangle with a dash in the middle for the A. I don't know, I will always remember this track as the A1 Ring inside my head. But, I mean, I think if they wanted to give it a proper track, they should call it the Spielberg Ring or something. But Alonso leapfrogs Albon for 11th. Hadjar's fallen to 13th. That's surprising. I mean, Antonelli and Bortoletto's in 5th. Bortoletto finding lap time in that Sauber. That is going to really put... I mean, the Hulkenberg is going to have an expression of embarrassment when he sees Bortoletto up in 5th, I'm afraid. Considering what I rate Hulkenberg to be a better driver than Ocon and even Gasly, I think Hulkenberg will be very, very bitterly disappointed with his P20 today. Obviously, McLaren once again so quick they don't have to do an extra qualifying lap because they're just so far ahead in pace. And I do fully expect Piastri to win again this weekend and extend his championship lead over both Norris and Verstappen. Anything else is going to be a massive red flag to Oscar Piastri, considering Norris is out of form and Verstappen is stuck in a Red Bull. That doesn't seem very quick. Unless, of course, Max can produce a miracle. Hadjar is out in P11. Behrman, Colapinto out. Albon's out. Looks like Alonso could be out too, to be honest. And I think that red flag, I think that was a very session, I'm afraid, with the only major shock being Hadjar ending up in 13th, with, of course, Bortoletto producing a miracle on his final qualifying lap to take himself up to 5th. Yeah, I mean, the Audi power unit, like I predicted, is a pile of crud. It's just not very good. I mean, Audi, obviously, it's going to be the first time Audi will actually be participating in F1 as either an engine manufacturer or as a team. Since, of course, I know they're going to be taking over Sauber completely next season, so they are very much rookies at this level now. Obviously, Audi have had an insane amount of success in other series, winning the British Touring Car Championship with, what was it, Frank Bieder in 1996, winning the DTM German Touring Car Championships numerous times with drivers like Laurent Act and what's his name? Laurent Aiello, I beg your pardon, and that Swedish guy, I keep forgetting his name, and quite a few others I can't even remember anymore, but obviously they've won the 24 Hours of Le Mans numerous times with the R8 chassis, dominating the 2000s, except for 2003 when Bentley won it. Oh yeah, they were also part of the old Auto Union company, which was backed by the mustachio dictator of Germany back in the 1930s, and they were very successful with drivers like Tazio Nuvolari and Bernd Rosenmeier winning Grand Prix and championships for the predecessors of Audi, which was Auto Union. Of course, Tazio Nuvolari also won, I think, one of his last races at Donington Park in 1938. As it is, double world champion Fernando Alonso is out qualifying with Thai British driver Albon in 12th place, double podium finisher. Hadjar, the rookie from France, is 13th. Argentina's Colapinto, the first order tried to race at this level since Gaston Mazzarconi in 2001, is 14th. And Britain, Ollie Behrman, is 15th. And 15th and 17th is a terrible result because this is one of Haas's stronger tracks on the calendar. So lots of frayed, angry faces at the American-owned team there at Haas, who Io Komatsu will be scratching his head, itching his beard, and asking his engineers and drivers a lot of questions tonight because they need to do better than that. That's really harsh from Dave Huxter. I mean, Bortoletto is a reigning F2 and F3 champion. Okay, I know. I mean, let's be honest. He had a very late, surge of form in his junior career, where out of nowhere he proved himself to be a lot better than what people expected, and of course, because of that, he got a lot of Brazilian sponsorship money being thrown his way at the last second. So, I think early on in his career, I think he was forced to sit out a couple of races because no one really cared about him because he wasn't doing well. But now, I mean, at the age of 21, all of a sudden he's the talk of the town in Brazil. But of course, with his lack of experience, he, just like Kimi Antonelli, he needs time to find his form and understand where he belongs in F1. But 5th place in Q2 is nothing to be scoffed at for the young Brazilian rookie. What a performance that is by Gabriel Bortoletto, the reigning F2 and F3 champion. Very similar track record to Oscar Piastri, who of course also entered F1 with a very strong track record of his own, doing exactly the same thing, winning F3 and F2 in consecutive seasons at the first attempt. And of course, I know a lot of people have come to question the quality of junior Formula in the past decade or so, with the likes of Jolyon Palmer and Lance Stroll and Nick de Vries succeeding at those championships. So, we have to take it with a pinch of salt, unfortunately. But I do think Bortoletto has got talent. He just needs time and experience to really become more consistent as he gets older. It's not like you need to realise rookies need like 2 or 3 years to really be nurtured and become more consistent and better and understand what they have to do, how to defend, how to look after tyres, how to look after fuel and all that. And it takes like 3 to 4 years to really be able to do that properly. Obviously, there'll be the moments where they'll show flashes of speed, aggressive quality or race result, but you need to pair them up with an experienced driver like Hulkenberg and Russell. Sorry about John. Lando might get stuck on a wrist. That's interesting. Are F3 cars more similar to F1 than F2 cars? Or because I think the problem with F2 cars is that the engines they have don't have a lot of horsepower for the amount of grip and downforce they've got with the Perez that they get to use. I mean, I think F2 cars are very similar to what you get in Indy cars, where the chassis are quite underpowered considering the amount of grip and downforce the cars can produce.
Well, then you have Fires Q3.
Let's go! I hope for so many. Let's go, guys. Good job.
Hadjar, yes, I've got to say it. I think that this speaks volumes about how impressive Isaac Hadjar is, in that today's result of P13 is considered to be very disappointing for Isaac Hadjar, because he's been reaching Q3 quite a few times already this season, about 3 or 4 or 5 times. I can't count because I don't care enough, but his qualifying performances have impressed me so far. So the fact that this is already one of his worst performances in quali is, I think, does speak volumes of how much talent Hadjar possesses as a young talent as well. And I think it's more astonishing when you consider the fact that I don't think he's ever won a junior title before coming to F1. So, unlike, of course, Bortoletto, Kimi Antonelli, and of course Piastri, who already got junior titles, Hadjar was a bit unlucky in his junior career, never to win a championship, but the kid's got talent as well. And 10 minutes ago of Q3, I have no idea, because of course I don't think we've anyone said lap time yet. So that is your bottom 10 for those of you who have only just joined the stream at this point. Alonso, Albon, Hadjar, Colapinto, Behrman, Stroll, Ocon, Tsunoda, Sainz, and Hulkenberg will not take part in Q3, folks. Hulkenberg, what a disaster, I've got to say, with his teammate taking 5th place in Q2. That is shockingly poor from an experienced driver like Hulkenberg, who's been in the sport for about, I'm trying to count in my head. I think this has got to be his 12th full season of Formula One when you take into account he sat out 2011 to become a test driver at Force India. He sat out 2020, 21 and 22 to become a test and reserve driver for Aston Martin and Racing Point. Of course, he did do a couple of sub appearances in 2020 for both Stroll and Perez, where he picked up a lot of points and helped Racing Point finish 4th in the constructor standings. And of course, he did the same again for the rebranded Aston Martin team as Vettel's injury replacement at the start of that season, going racing at Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, but he didn't score a point because the Aston Martin at the start of 2022 was garbage. And because of those performances, Haas were convinced of Hulkenberg's ability to race at the top level again, despite the fact that he'd already turned 35 by the time 23 came around. No lap times have been set yet, but I do expect Piastri to take pole today, and Norris, well, I mean, with the McLaren being so quick, I mean, even if he bottled Q2, I mean, he was never going to miss out Q3, was it? Because that McLaren is way too quick for that now. Obviously, everyone's used about these 4 tyres already. Mind you, Alpine used up 7 compounds. That is a waste of that's a waste of tyres, I'm afraid, by Williams there. Not very good strategic planning in qualifying by the boys down in Grove, Banbury. I think it sort of sums up how poor this weekend and Canada was for Williams, who of course are rumoured to be having their eyes set on 2026, having already banked at least 54 points and are sitting in 5th place in the constructor standings. It has been a great season so far for Williams, but it does seem as if they have realised that they're probably not going to finish above 5th in the championship, so they've now taken their eyes off for this season and are focusing on next season. Yeah, Williams are tumbling. I always knew that Williams were going to fall off like this, unfortunately, like around the mid-season point, especially with the prize money and wind tunnel time being reset. Like, I think Williams were always going to fall victim to the regulations coming in place that we have, where, of course, under the cost cap regulations, the team that's sitting in 1st place come the halfway point of the season gets the least wind tunnel time and the least amount of money to spend allocated. So McLaren once again are going to have to working with the least amount of time able to be spent in the wind tunnel and money spent on their car and team and travel. Then it's, I don't know, Mercedes 2nd, Ferrari 3rd, Red Bull 4th, which I think could be an advantage for Red Bull because, of course, they're already focusing on Max. I mean, that's probably why Yuki is there, because it means that they get more money to spend and more wind tunnel time. And, of course, Williams are 5th, which I think, unfortunately, is going to hurt Williams more compared to their midfield rivals, who are going to have an advantage of them for the rest of the season. But I think Williams should do enough to finish 5th for the season. And because, having said that, the higher you do finish up in the constructors, the more prize money you get at the end of the season. Finishing 5th is not a curse like it used to be. Lap times are in. Bottas 8th quickest. I don't know if Gasly and Lawson have set a lap time, but Norris is looking good for pole. Could this be a weekend Norris actually gets pole position? It feels like our expectations have definitely dropped, Lando, I'm afraid, here at Crystal Racing. Because until he can find any sort of consistency, I'm not going to sit there and expect like consistent elite performances week in, week out by the boy from, I think from Bristol, is he from Glastonbury? I mean, funnily enough, of course, Glastonbury is holding its festival this weekend. Hello there, Invincible123. I hope you're doing well. Hamilton is in 4th place. Yeah, I mean, Rob Marshall, what an amazing job he's done at the McLaren Aerodynamic Factory. Seemingly able to keep the car, finding upgrades and improving the package under limited circumstances due to what the teams agreed at the start of 2022 with the cost cap regulations. Very impressive job by Rob Marshall. Probably, arguably, one of the most valuable assets, along with Adrian Newey at this point in time in modern F1. And it has to be said, I mean, we're probably only going to see Adrian Newey's influence shine through at Aston Martin come next season, when, of course, the new regulations will take in place and everyone gets to start all over again. But, of course, the cost cap regulations will still be in place. Thank you for 3 likes here at Crystal Racing. All the support is appreciated. Comment, like, sub, do all the rest of it. Even if you only watch for like 2 minutes, it's much appreciated. Yeah, I hope you're having a fantastic day here because it's sunny all over Britain and in most of Europe. I think we're about to have another heat wave, so make the most of it because, of course, especially Britain, I mean, our heat waves only last around June and July, so once it's done, it's gone. 5 minutes ago, Russell, the fastest Mercedes in 5th, Anthony 7th, Verstappen is only 6th, I beg your pardon. Really struggling for pace in that Red Bull. Thank you for 4 likes here at Crystal Racing, of course. Who was my favourite driver? I think, I don't know, it's probably like a tie between Pierre Gasly and maybe Alex Albon. Before that, I think it used to be Kimi Räikkönen for about 2 decades. Mark Webber when Kimi wasn't there between 2010 and 11, and of course Jay Golden Fisichella way back in the day. I mean, obviously Hamilton at the age of 40. You know, what an amazing career he's had, winning 7 championships, McLaren and Mercedes. I mean, obviously he's still got a decent amount of race pace, but I have to admit, I don't think his qualifying pace is that particularly impressive anymore. I mean, but we also have to now factor in the fact that he's now driving for Ferrari, who have not really been having a tea break since 2008, I'm afraid. So, well, I mean, Lewis always said that he wanted to drive for Ferrari one day, and he got his wish. But sometimes, like the old adage goes, sometimes it's better to never meet your heroes. And I think, unfortunately, in Lewis Hamilton's case, the first 10 races are proving that old quote to be somewhat true. Unfortunately, don't you worry, I have a massive amount of respect for Lewis Hamilton and what he's achieved in his career, but yeah, even the very best will suffer at Maranello, I'm afraid. And of course, track limits is a perennial bugbear at a track like the Red Bull Ring. Here we go, final 2 minutes. It's the final laps of qualifying. 17-year-long tea break. But how else can I describe it, mate? Lewis Hamilton at Miami was raging at the team. Will you feel having a tea break or something? It is like, how do I say this to you, Sir Lewis Hamilton? Yeah, they've been having one hell of a long tea break, I'm afraid. 17 years. I know it sounds insane for a team to take 17 years to drink a cup of tea, but Scuderia Ferrari will infuriate you in more ways than several. Not just one, several ways. And look at that, Norris as into the 1 minute 4, like I predicted. That McLaren is rapid into the 1 minute 4s. Oh my word, seriously quick lap time. And you know, when can Norris hold his nerve to win the race tomorrow? I mean, it's going to be intriguing to see Norris on the first lap if he can just do his own thing. Like, I'm just going to say this. If Leclerc overtakes Norris for the lead tomorrow, then Norris needs to hold his nerve and wait patiently for his opportunity to overtake Norris. And if he has to resort to pitting, going to the pits and try and overtake Leclerc by undercutting or overcutting Leclerc, then that's what he's got to do. He's got to think smart about this now. Probably, yeah, I think you've probably summed that up. I mean, who knows what they're doing at Maranello these days, because I don't even think the wackiest conspiracy theorists can understand what Ferrari are thinking of these days anymore. But yeah, I mean, let's not like overextend this joke, okay? Even though it's become something of a favourite joke of mine in the past 2 years. I mean, when Lewis Hamilton shouted, "Are you having a tea break or something?" I just burst into tears of laughter for 10 minutes solid. I was just like, oh my word, Lewis, you, my sweet summer child. I don't think you've seen the things I've seen as a Kimi Räikkönen fan. You, like, Hamilton fans are now beginning to realise what the likes of Vettel, Alonso, Massa, and the Sainz and Leclerc have been enduring for the past near 2 decades. It's torture at Maranello. Oh my lord, I think Will might be coming in Lando Norris. I think someone's turning into a Lando Norris. I'm sorry, Will. Have you been hacked by Sargeant? Like, I'm being serious now, but has Sargeant got hold of your account? I think you need to like back up your password, maybe do 2-step authentication, do the 2-key step factor thingy. Oh my word. I'm sorry, my eyes just popped out of my head. You said that, you made that comment on that, what was it, video where Lando Norris stepped out of his McLaren at Monaco and celebrated, taking only his 2nd win of the season, and you put down Lando Norris hashtag sensational. I'm like, wait a minute, have you been hacked? Yes. Wait. Plus 10 points. I'm confused. Is that fantasy points? Is that? Oh yeah, it's F1 fantasy. That's what it is. It's like fantasy 4. That's why. So everyone who predicted Lando Norris getting pole will get 10 points with F1 fantasy. If I was playing F1 fantasy, I probably would end up with like 2 points or something terrible, because I definitely would have not predicted Norris getting pole this weekend. Oh, for goodness sake, Pierre Gasly. Oh, jeez, this season just goes from bad to worse. For goodness me, Gasly, I just get the general impression that Pierre Gasly is trying way too hard at Alpine because he's getting frustrated. He knows the car is a dog. Yeah, that's going to be the floor damaged. Need replacing, and maybe further checks need to be done for that car, like the gearbox and the engine, in case he stored it, because of course if you store your car suddenly in an F1 car, it can do some serious damage to the transmission. This is the qualifying order, the top 10, everyone. You know what, I wouldn't be surprised if Gasly is just begging to be sacked now, because I think he's had enough, and he's just hoping Cadillac get on the phone and say, "Yeah, Pierre, do you want to join us?" And I bet you Pierre Gasly will probably jump out of his seat to go to Cadillac now. I don't blame him, because Alpine are on the road to nowhere. You know, just like Peter Kay and Paddy McGuinness, their Road to Nowhere series. Yeah, Pierre Gasly is stuck in his own Road to Nowhere episode of his own. Norris on pole. Only driver to dip into the 1 minute 4s. Leclerc on the front row. Piastri and Hamilton on the second row, the championship leader, alongside the seven-time champion. Russell alongside Liam Lawson with an impressive sixth place in front of Max Verstappen by 0.003 of a second. Oh my, Red Bull, you've got some real red faces, because that beast. I don't know what to say. I mean, look, Piastri's not a qualifying expert, so we should not be surprised at the fact that Piastri's, when Norris can get it right, he can absolutely destroy Piastri, but Piastri's just an average qualifier. I mean, he's more like you know what Piastri is? He's like a Jensen Button, isn't he? Mottoletto with what I'm sure is a career best P8. Antonelli, a disappointing 9th place, and Pierre Gasly will be getting a stern word from Fabio Briatore as he's qualified down in 10th. I mean, obviously, yeah, we all knew Gasly was going to end up 10th, but I think the problem is more the fact he spun his car into the gravel, pushing way too hard when he was probably only going to get like P9 at best. Liam Lawson is just so frustrating, isn't he? Like, I don't know. I mean, this is a problem Liam Lawson is that we have to remember. Even though obviously it feels like he's been around for ages. Oh yeah, I forgot Verstappen and his lap. Oh yeah, the yellow flags had to come out for Gasly's speed. Yeah, sorry, I forgot about that. But yeah. This is Liam Lawson's first full season as an F1 driver, believe it or not. I know he made his debut 18 months ago, which makes it seem like he's been around for ages, but he only had like 10 combined F1 stars before this season, so he's actually still relatively inexperienced as an F1 driver. So, now he's finally beginning to make leaps in performances, having already spent the first half of the season being beaten by Zhou fairly consistently. I mean, time will tell who's going to eventually emerge as the best driver at RB, but I think the thing with Liam Lawson is that whilst he may lack that raw talent, I do think he has that sort of spiky, aggressive personality, that selfishness and that single-mindedness to really improve. And like, I'm pretty sure he's willing to destroy Zhou if his life depends on it. Bortoletto, great job. You're all correct, Kiefer. Let's give a round of applause to Gabriel Bortoletto, the Brazilian driver at Alba. Well done, son. Great job. Hulkenberg will be very embarrassed with P20. Gasly, yeah, I mean, Alpine are going to bin off their Renault engine factory come the end of this year, so it's all gone. Wowzer my trouser, yeah, oh my lord, it's a bit like Roman in the Grosjean. If you understand what I mean. Wowzer my trouser, got a new catchphrase for Hulkenberg. Wowzer my trouser. My old catchphrase for Roman Grosjean was, yeah, he's got something stuck in a Grosjean. But let's not expand any further on that quote. Russell 5th, decent job. Having said that, I fully expect Verstappen to leapfrog Lawson off the grid anyway, so my problem is I think Verstappen will have to quickly find Hamilton and Russell in his way, and yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I think this championship is going to really start ebbing away from Verstappen, unless, of course, Red Bull can find any tricks in their sleeves in the next few races, because I'm going to say this, if Verstappen cannot begin to start taking points off Piastri in the next 3 or 4 races, he's not winning the championship. You are absolutely correct, Saint Regara. The session has ended, and the GOAT himself, Lando Norris, is on pole position. Absolutely amazing performance. He's going to win every race. He's going to win every race for the rest of the season. He's going to prove me wrong. He's going to prove Will wrong. He's going to prove every cat and dog wrong. and he's going to win the next 10 more championships. I bet you are jumping for joy. You are correct. You are walking. You are indeed. You are walking on cloud 9 as I speak, because Lando Norris is on pole position. Let me just confirm that on the lap by lap feed. 4 people watching, 4 likes. Thank you very much, Crystal Racing. Oh yeah, Gasly also ruined Piastri's lap. So yeah, very unfortunate. Gasly doing Lando Norris a huge favour. Bottas also did very well. Happy to see Ferrari up there. Ferrari are looking much quicker, I agree. Ferrari actually looked good for once this weekend, although whether Ferrari and Leclerc can find a strategy to spook Lando tomorrow is another question in itself. And yes, it's like 2001 all over again. You know, Ferrari fighting McLaren just like 2008 as well. The old days of F1 are back. Ferrari and McLaren are back in the front of the grid. Although Williams, even though they've been a lot better compared to what they've been doing for the past 2 decades, are still struggling to get back into the top 3. You are absolutely correct. You are not dreaming, say regarded. Your man, Lando Norris, is indeed at the front of the queue tomorrow here at the Red Bull Ring. I absolutely hate calling it the Red Bull Ring. I'd rather call it the A1 Ring or Spielberg or the Austrian Ring, depending on how old you are. Piastri and Verstappen had their laps ruined by Gasly's late spin at the final corner on his final qualifying lap. And he took it by over half of a second ahead of Leclerc. What an amazing lap. I mean, although it has to be said, it does feel like Lando Norris is a sort of driver who can produce miracles when there's no pressure or any expectations placed on his shoulders. They qualified, oh yeah, McLaren qualified 7th and 8th. In 2001, but qualified won the race, yeah, but that's because Montoya collided with Schumacher halfway through the race, which of course qualified, I mean, back then at, what was it, turn 3, which is really the second braking zone of the track. There used to be a massive gravel trap there, so Schumacher ended up finishing second, and I think Montoya blew his engine later on in the race that day. 8 people watching. Pierre Gasly, Pierre. Max Verstappen is probably sleepwalking into P4, probably. The thing is, though, I think this championship is really now Oscar Piastri's to, I don't know how you say it. I think in Piastri's case, he sees it as a championship to win, but I think for those who rate Piastri above Norris, they see it as his championship to lose. KDF1 has some interesting F1 opinions, I've got to say. Even as a Gasly fan, I think that's a bit far-fetched, to be honest. I don't know what to say about that. And this is the weirdest thing that today is arguably one of Gasly's better performances of the season, but yeah, he still goes and makes a huge, atrocious mistake at the end of his qualifying lap. So, oh no, I don't know. It's like Gasly is probably going to try and find a loophole in his Alpine contract and probably beg for Cadillac to take him on next season. Paddock 69. Who the hell is Paddock 69? Like, every time I see the number 69, it's like I get flashbacks of Nicky Hayden racing in MotoGP, rest in peace, the 2006 MotoGP World Champion, and of course, the last American to win any sort of major motor racing championship to date, I think, because of course, I mean, NASCAR and IndyCar are not major global championships, I'm afraid. I mean, when I say major global motor racing championships, I'm talking F1, MotoGP, WRC, WEC. I don't know what else you would consider to be a major championship. Oh yeah, Formula E is now a world championship. So yeah, so It's been nearly 2 decades since America had a world motor racing champion of any sort, and yet I don't even think that many Americans even knew who the hell Nicky Hayden was before his untimely passing back in 2017 when he was struck by a car while cycling in Italy on his push bike, which was a very sad way to go at the age of just 35 years old. And just over a decade on from his triumph at Valencia, where, of course, Valentino Rossi drove the worst race of his career, and Hayden took advantage and finished on the podium and won the championship by just a few points, despite only winning 2 races that entire season. Turns out he only actually won 3 races in the whole MotoGP career to top it all off. So what a remarkable performance it was from, what was it, the Repsol Honda rider. But Lando Norris is your pole sitter, also in a papaya orange car. I think obviously Repsol Honda orange, white, black and red. Although, to be fair, the McLaren is just mostly papaya orange with a splash of blue and black, depending on what they want to add. Yeah, very sad end for Nicky Hayden. Yeah, I mean, that must be music to your ears to escape the tyranny of listening to David Croft squawking into the microphone. Instead, you've got me squawking on YouTube, but congratulations to Bottas for a career best P8. Lawson for P6. Yep, lots of Sky F1 viewers were jumping over the moon. Statement poll, statement, yep, it's a statement poll, whatever that means. Like, I mean, I cringed so much when the F1 website after the Dutch Grand Prix said, statement made, Lando Norris wins, and it's like, yeah, that's like his 3rd win of the season, and we've already had like 14 races completed already. Yeah. Statement poll for Lando of the Norris. I mean, it's turned into a cliche, just like how George Russell got labelled Mr. Sade when he was driving for Williams 4 years ago. Very unfortunate for Basil Kadja. I think he'll learn from this. It's going to be a tight battle between Piastri and Norris, but unfortunately for Max Verstappen fans, I think this championship is going to be done and dusted, and I don't really see... I can't see Max getting the world champion for 2 in a row, because obviously if he was to achieve such a feat, he would become the youngest driver to become a 5-time champion and the youngest to make it 5 consecutive titles on the bounce, and that would probably be the ultimate unbreakable F1 record, I have to say. The race will be entertaining, yes indeed, Kiefer. Yes, and of course rest in peace to Nicky Hayden. How could we forget? Obviously, I think, what was that guy's name from the Beach Boys? I think that guy from the Beach Boys also passed away recently, so rest in peace to him. I don't know, what's his name? Keith something? I don't know. Produced a lot of memorable songs. You keep hearing over the radio and on TV. Keep forgetting his name. Make sure you join us again. Of course, we're going to join you tomorrow for it. I think mostly the race is going to be held at, oh yeah, 3 o'clock Central European time, at 2 o'clock UK time, because of course it is now already 5:30 in Central Europe, and of course it's 4:30 here in the UK. I bet, I don't know, I think, are you telling me that David Croft likes to, I mean, that sounds a bit messed up. That's a bit messed up there, Will. I really hope he doesn't do that sort of stuff to his kids. Maybe as a joke, or maybe to punish them once in a while when they do something naughty, but Yeah, I'm pretty sure he doesn't do that all the time, and I think even he doesn't like to hear his own commentary as much as some of us might theorise about. I mean, the problem with David Croft is how unfortunately he has become something of a James Allen type of character, where he's only like James Allen on ITV was criticised for screaming like a schoolgirl, and I think unfortunately David Croft has now fallen into that category of being a bit hysterical for no reason. Who the hell? What news agency have you been reading that story from about Vettel returning to Red Bull? Like, he hasn't raced for 3 years now. Like, dude, it's gonna be what, 37 years? Not 37. He's gonna be 39 years old next year. Like, the guy is even older than Nico Hulkenberg, I think. So, what makes you think Vettel is coming back, especially after a rest? For the new regulations, like, I don't get the issue with Vettel, what's all these rumours of people thinking Vettel is returning to F1, because the guy isn't even racing in anything like, I don't know, WEC, IndyCar, GTs, to even keep himself race sharp at the very minimum. Like, he's not even doing the minimum anymore. Hermit Marco? I don't know, mate. I think that might be a conspiracy theory too far for me to believe in. Yeah, but Lando Norris has proven a lot of people wrong. Whether he can repeat this sort of performance again tomorrow is another big if. Just like Murray Walker would say, if is F1 spelled backwards, even though it clearly is not, because the one is not an hype. The half a second fast. Now that is insane, but of course, it really does depend on whether Norris can keep his nerve, get his team and his strategy right. And who knows, we could be looking at Norris's third win of the season and could be starting his comeback again. I will say though, if Norris does win the championship this year, I don't think we'll ever see like Lando Norris drive that well ever again for the rest of his career, because I don't think he has like the mentality or the determination to keep up like any sort of like championship winning performance again, because we all know he's a bit emotionally sensitive, not a very confrontational type of character. Yeah, thank you, Kiefer. Very much appreciated. I love to entertain you here at Crystal Racing. Obviously, this is a top 10 for those of you looking. And if you didn't see Q2 and Q3, this is your bomb 10. Alonso misses out along with Albon. Another disappointing weekend for Williams. Hadjar with one of his worst performances of the season in qualifying, only in 13th, which I think speaks volumes about the performances he's already put in this season. 14th, Colapinto. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not great by Franco, and I don't know how long he'll stay in that second Alpine seat, to be honest, with, of course, rumours of Mick Schumacher returning to F1, despite not having raced in F1 for now 3 years himself. But, of course, he is still a young driver who's 26 years old, and he's been occupying himself with the Alpine sports car program. So for me, I mean, Mick Schumacher's return to F1 would be far more realistic than any sort of Vettel return, who's been sitting on his backside for 3 years now, I'm afraid. Colapinto 15th. Okay qualifying performance. Yeah, qualifies his teammate Ocon for once, but this is one of Haas's strongest tracks, so they will be very disappointed, and Io Komatsu will be having some pretty stern words in the team's debrief tonight. Stroll 16th. Why the hell is Lance Stroll even in F1 anymore? But that's another story for another day. Ocon will be kicking himself in 17th. Oh dear, Tsunoda, mate. Oh my word. Okay, Tsunoda, mate. This is like not even Perez, Gasly, or Albon stank this much when they were in the second at Red Bull seat. And unfortunately, I have to say this, I think Yuki Tsunoda is destroying his F1 credentials as we speak. Sebastian Ocon, and then of course 19th place. Another disappointing qualifying session by Carlos Sainz, where of course lots of people expected great things from Carlos at Williams this season, but Albon has had his number, and it has to be said, it's no wonder Carlos Sainz is cashing in on those endorsement deals from Hackett Clothing and of course L'Oreal Hair, because at his rate, I don't think he'll be lasting F1. His F1 career could, I don't know, go on any further than maybe 2027 if he does not improve. Since I think he's got like a 3-year maximum contract. I mean, he needs to improve. I mean, I think he'll obviously be at Williams next season again, but I mean, despite all the rumours that Sainz could return to McLaren, I think his sort of performances along with Piastri and Norris's improvement is probably going to... Let me just put it simply, there's no way Sainz is ever returning to McLaren because he's not good enough anymore. Hulkenberg, obviously 20th, very disappointing performance, but of course, Hulkenberg is a master of climbing positions in the race, and of course, he will probably try and copy what he did in Spain, where he had lots of tyres in reserve, because of course he only used 3 sets of tyres in qualifying, and I think those tyres will be ready for him to use in the race in Austria. So, but having said that, Austria does not have as much tyre wear around this track as Catalonia does, so it remains to be seen whether Hulkenberg can capitalise on his extra set of tyres because, of course, of his early exit today in qualifying. Today's Austrian Grand Prix has been sponsored by MSC Cruisers, which is, of course, the same initials of Mick Schumacher and Michael Schumacher. Yeah, I mean, let's be really honest. As long as everything goes smooth sailing, this should be an easy McLaren 1-2. And unfortunately, I think the next 3 or 4 races, we're probably going to see Max Verstappen fall about maybe 60 points behind Piastri in the driver standings, and maybe anywhere up to about 50 odd points behind Norris, because I can't see him staying in the championship fight against either of them as long as McLaren keep their car performing as it is. I think this is where Verstappen will be very much pressing on potential future move to another team, whether it's Mercedes, Ferrari, or Martin. I think the probability of Max remaining at Red Bull for 2026 is diminishing as we speak. And yeah, I mean, even though yes, he had his last lap ruined by Gasly's spin, 6th place, even if he had achieved it, would still have been a dreadful result. Even a 6th or 5th would still not be satisfying for a 4-time world champion. And the pressure is increasing at Milton Keynes to improve their car. And of course, you know, Perez came out with that comment the other day saying that Red Bull were wrong to sack him, which I think that does feel like Perez blowing smoke up his arse, to be honest, in a very arrogant and childish way. But it has to be said, Tsunoda has been pretty dreadful, to say the least. And I think Red Bull are missing Sergio Perez's driver feedback on the technical front now to some extent. And I think, because let's face it, Yuki Tsunoda should not be anywhere near that number 2 seat. He is just a midfield driver at best. And I'm pretty sure Yuki Tsunoda wishes that he was never even promoted in the first place, because the pressure and like the number of like technical things that you have to do at a top team, with like the number of settings, conditions, like things that you can adjust in a senior Red Bull car, is like twice as much as what you have to do at RB. because the RB car is just set up for a midfield place with maybe like, you know, more of a like a setup and a design of car where it's just more or less the same sort of setup for almost every track they go to, except for maybe Monaco, Singapore, and Monza, due to how radically different those tracks are from the rest of the calendar. So yeah, 5 likes here at Crystal Racing. Thank you for the support. Always. Oh, it's dropped down to 4 likes. I don't know. Oh, 4 or 5. I don't know what's going on with YouTube. Blimey me, 4 people watching now. I mean, that is your top 10 on the grid for tomorrow's Grand Prix. I think we are going to have quite an entertaining race with a lot of strategy. It is a bit sad that Sainz Senior has withdrawn from the FIA presidency race, which means that Mohammed bin Salman will probably get re-elected. Half a second, yeah, but you can't realise Lando Norris is driving that McLaren. Like, anything could happen. Like, we all know that he could put down that sort and then drop down to like 4th or 5th place. So you never know, man. Like, Lando Norris is not a prime Verstappen, Vettel, or Alonso, Hamilton, prime Kimi Raikkonen, Schumacher type of driver, mate. He has made too many mistakes in him, so anything could happen. But then, of course, if Lando Norris does turn up tomorrow, then we could well have a boring race. So, I don't know, mate. I think the only way we can see how quick that McLaren is if, like, one of Lando Norris or Oscar Piastri gets replaced by, I don't know, Max or Leclerc or something. In which case, yeah, then we'll probably have like a more solid barometer of how quick that McLaren really is. Because, of course, Piastri's only ever had one teammate, Lando Norris, and Lando Norris has only ever had Carlos Sainz and Ricciardo as teammates, so it's a bit difficult to see where they really stand in comparison to everyone else in F1. Heck, having Fernando Alonso would probably give us a better second-hand view on where McLaren really stand in a hierarchy. I have said it before, Piastri is pretty poor at qualifying, so it's not really a shock, is it? And he's only in his 3rd year of F1, so I think for him to win like 5 races already is a pretty good job, but there's still work to be done. He's not the full package yet. I did say it does take like 4 or 5 years for a rookie to really get up to speed in F1 and to become the perfect package, if the seeding allows it. But all in all, I think obviously with the pace advantage McLaren have, I mean, Piastri still sorts 3rd, so it's not really a disaster in the grand scheme of things. And with the sort of personality he has, he's not going to panic or whinge about this. I think he's just going to focus on doing the best job he can. He's not like a Lando Norris who tends to sulk in a corner if something goes wrong. I mean, Piastri's a lot more mentally stable for my eyes, and even if he only finishes 3rd tomorrow, I think he's just gonna, dude, his mood and personality doesn't really change much from over the course of a season, so I don't know, mate. I just get the feeling Piastri's just far better at staying calm under pressure. I don't know, Hulkenberg. Well, the thing with Hulkenberg is that we did see Hulkenberg climb up 10 positions in Spain, so I would not be surprised to see Hulkenberg. It doesn't really matter where Hulkenberg qualifies. He's a master of climbing positions in a race day and, you know, saving tyres for like a late dash towards the end of the race. So even though, yeah, P20 is a disastrous qualifying result, he still has always got a chance of scoring points for Sauber. And you know, I think come the end of this season, I would not be surprised if Hulkenberg scores more points than what Bottas and Zhou did over the course of the last 2 seasons. Because, yeah, I mean, the guy is clearly a lot better than those 2 combined, to be honest. So why are we even shocked that Sauber/Audi decided to chase Hulkenberg's signature, despite the fact that he criticised them back in 2013 when he drove for them, saying that they're not very good as a team. I think although of course we have to remember that was Manisha Kaltenborn who was their team principal back in 2013, so that is a very, very long time ago. And of course they've had quite a few managerial changes, like, I don't know, Marcus Ericsson's family taking over the team for a couple of years, Alfa Romeo getting Ford, Frederick Vasseur in charge for 4 seasons. Was it 5 seasons? And then, of course, the more recent Sauber management in conjunction with the Audi having more influence. Oh my God, Chaz. I mean, you know what? I'm going to literally go and ask Chaz. I think, you know what it is? I think Chaz has already admitted defeat in the whole Magnussen versus Hulkenberg debate. I mean, I think he already did anyway, so I can't even remember when he said it, but I think he realised what. I mean, I think he's now come and admitted that his criticism of Hulkenberg was over the top, but it was just a bit ridiculous. If anything, oh, right. Not related to Ericsson, yeah, but I think his family is. I don't know. It's like really weird, complicated one. But I think his dad had like had shares in a company that sponsored Ericsson, because I know when Ericsson was a kid, his family was middle class, but then later on in life, his dad became a multi-millionaire. So I think that helped Ericsson out at a very crucial time in his racing career. Obviously, Ericsson's now racing an IndyCar, and well, he's won about 5 or 6 races, so he's had a good racing career. And of course, he's won the Indy 500, so I think he can look back at his F1 career and his IndyCar career with a lot of pride and joy. Oh yeah, I don't know, mate. That's kind of ridiculous. I think obviously, I don't know why that's so harsh when you consider the fact that in modern F1 the reliability in the sport has improved so much to the point that we're now developing drivers like Hulkenberg who can't get on a podium, and of course we also have just seen Magnussen retire from the sport with just 1 podium to his name, 3 or 4 podiums, and they raced in thousands, where of course we saw Jake Colin Fisichella win. Frentzen win twice with them as well. Oh right, the Swedish guy was Ericsson's financial backer. No blood relation, yeah, but wasn't he like a colleague or a associate of his dad though? Because I mean, the only reason why Ericsson got those connections is because his dad worked with someone. But yeah, I know it's not blood connection obviously, but I do remember hearing the stories about how his dad became a lot wealthier as Ericsson turned like 15 or 16. I mean, yeah, I mean, if there's anyone that we should be criticising, it's Yuki Tsunoda. He's in a top car and he can't get, we can't even get in a top 6. That's even more alarming. He can't even get in a top 6 in a Red Bull. That is truly awful. Like, to be frankly honest, obviously, even if you put someone like, I don't know, Bottas or maybe Perez in the Red Bull again, the best he probably could do is finish like 5th or 6th on their best days, because I don't think that Red Bull is anywhere near quick enough to get on the podium unless it's Max Verstappen driving. So yeah, for Yuki Tsunoda, I mean, this is just an absolute nightmare now. And the team, just like Haas, I think Red Bull are going to be having emergency debriefs and meetings and where he is, because dear God, mate, this is untenable for Yuki Tsunoda. I mean, I'm not entirely sure whether Yuki Tsunoda's mental state can keep up with this. Like, I think at some point Yuki Tsunoda might well stop bursting hairs if he can't improve, and I think it might not even come to the fact that he's struggling so much and not scoring points for the team. It could well just come down to the driver's mental state in itself, in that they might well be forced to, I don't know. The problem is though, there are no backup drivers that are really suited to replacing Tsunoda at Red Bull, because I mean, Lawson only had 2 races and he didn't do anything. Hajar is arguably far too young and immature to take such a big seat early on in his career. Justice for Perez! Justice for Perez! Oh jeez, Perez was right all along. Like, they should have, I mean, let's be honest, even though Perez would probably only like qualify 13th and probably finish 8th in the race, it's probably better to have like an older driver take all the blame and all the flack from the media. than to like embarrass Lawson and Tsunoda like this. Yeah, I mean, and let's be honest, I think Red Bull surely do regret replacing Perez when he did, because, okay, he was not doing what I would describe as a good job, but he did, obviously. But the thing is, it's far better to have someone like Perez giving you a little bit of technical feedback as a number 2 driver, even if he struggles to score points, because his experience is vital. And if, you know, and in his time as a number 2 driver, the team won 4 drivers' titles with Max and 2 constructors' championships in 22 and 23. So even though you could question whether he's actually better than Bottas, he was a very solid number 2. So I will agree with Chazza HD on one thing, is that Perez has been a very good F1 driver in his career and somewhat underrated to a minor extent. But I don't know, mate. But I kind of think Perez clearly fell out with Marco last year. Like, I think something clearly bad happened, because I know Red Bull were really angry at the way that Perez kept spinning and crashing in qualifying and making really poor mistakes. But at the same time, like, even though Perez was struggling, like, the thing is, bringing in Lawson and Tsunoda was never the answer, and now, honestly, we could have a completely new driver lineup at Red Bull Ford next season. Like, with the new engine suppliers Ford coming in, we could totally new driver lineup at a Red Bull squad and a new car philosophy if Max Verstappen leaves, because I think they're going to have to make the car a bit simpler and a bit easier to drive if Max leaves, because otherwise, I don't know. I mean, we could well see Red Bull struggle to score points next year if they don't make a drivable car. Of course, that will come at the expense of raw speed, raw downforce. It could well be, if they make a car with better handling, it could come at the expense of, I don't know, the car's raw speed. But I don't know. Perez and Bottas. Hey, people, like, come on, Red Bull, give your key Red Bull, because he's doing so well at RB. Yeah, well, the RB is basically an open Audi. That's what RB are. The red racing balls are just nothing but. Yeah, Finn Rouse. Yeah, I know. Yeah, we don't need to go through the Marcus Ericsson story again. But I don't even know why the hell I was talking about Marcus Ericsson anyway, because, I don't know, bit of a random one. But yeah, we've gone horribly off topic there with Marcus Ericsson, but that was because we were talking about Sauber, with all the managerial changes they've had over the years. On accident, he said that Finn Rousing took over the team, when in fact I was completely wrong. I apologise for that mistake, but of course, I don't know, there was that time gap between like 2015 and 18 where I think it was a bit unclear who the hell were in charge of Sauber, because of Monisha Kaltenborg's sacking for messing up the contracts of Guido van der Gaard, Adrian Sutil, I beg your pardon, and of course where she signed both drivers only to replace them with Felipe Nasser and Marcus Ericsson immediately, due to, of course, the tragic incident which eventually took Jules Bianchi's life, because of course originally Ferrari had the deal for 2015 that Jules Bianchi would drive the second. Of course, Jules Bianchi driven the second Sauber would have had a massive discount for the Ferrari power units they were using for 2015, which I do know for a fact was going to be the case, because obviously Ferrari were heavily invested in Jules Bianchi and potentially replacing Kimi Raikkonen with Bianchi from maybe 2016 or 17. I mean, what's his name? Oscar Piastri has got Mark Webber as a manager. I mean, I know Nico Rosberg talked about giving Lando Norris hope a couple of weeks ago at Canada, but I suppose Lando Norris doesn't really have that high opinion of Nico Rosberg, which is why Norris probably turned it down. And I know some people have labelled Rosberg to be a snake. I think Vettel offered help, but oh, who's better, Barrichello or Webber? Oh, Barrichello lasted 2 decades, and he was more. Mark Webber had the better peaks. Although, of course, I come to like conversations, debates between. What's it? Ricardo and Webber. I know what's it. My argument is that Ricardo had the better peaks, but Webber was actually more consistent than Ricardo. And of course, on top of that, Webber actually got involved in a championship fight in 2010. So Webber, I think, beats out both Barrichello and Ricardo for just his whole all-round career. And of course, I'm a Mark Webber fan, so obviously my bias kicks in as well. But you know, the number of times Mark Webber produced a miracle in qualifying for Williams, Jaguar, or the early days of Red Bull before Vettel came was pretty remarkable. But he did have a habit of blowing race starts a lot. So, but Barrichello was also a bold job when it came to the first lap of the race as well. So they also had that Lando Norris syndrome plaguing them. Oh yeah, we could have had Charles Leclerc and Jules Bianchi as teammates. Yeah, very sad story, but if I'm going to be brutally honest, I think eventually, well, I mean, the thing is, though, obviously Ferrari later signed Sebastian Vettel, so I don't know how the hell, was it, Jules Bianchi and Leclerc could have fitted in. I think what could have been the case is that Bianchi and Vettel would have stayed as teammates until 20. Leclerc would have waited until 21 to join Ferrari full time, which I think was really what Ferrari wanted to do was. But of course, because obviously Bianchi, the tragic demise of Bianchi, and of course Kimi advancing age, they had to bring Charles Leclerc in at the age of 2019 because of course they had a lack of alternatives to replace Kimi Räikkönen. Since the only other alternative they had after Bianchi passed away was of course Perez and Hulkenberg, but I think as we've seen, neither Perez or Bianchi or Hulkenberg, I beg your pardon, were that really good enough for Ferrari to want to like throw away Kimi's years of experience and technical feedback and take it out to the team when obviously they were in a tight championship fight with what was it, Mercedes in 17 and 18. Let's be real here, folks. I think Hulkenberg and Perez probably would have, I don't know, made Ferrari's life a nightmare, since they would have had their own ambitions of trying to become a world champion themselves in the peak in their own careers. So that's why Kimi lasted as long as he did, because they didn't want, I don't know, someone to take points off Vettel, even though Kimi eventually did in 2018 because Vettel kept spinning all the time. I mean, let's be honest, 2018 was basically the beginning of the end for Vettel, I'm afraid, but I think I'll leave it there. So thank you for watching here at Crystal Racing, and I'll see you again next time.